You are listening to the Evolvepreneur AI Advantage Show, and I'm your host, Richard Wray. My mission is to help entrepreneurs understand AI and use it to their advantage. Join me today where we dig deep with our guest and get you the best concepts and strategies. Today's special guest is Carma Spence. Carma is a best-selling and award-winning author of 5 books. She uses her 25-plus years of marketing and PR experience to help entrepreneurs and business owners amplify their authority, increase their influence, and establish their thought leadership with their own books. Today's topic, making AI your virtual assistant. Carma, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Great to have you here. So as ever, I always like to ask my guest, Carma, where in the world are you?
I'm in Minnesota.
Wow, interesting place. Never been there. That's one I would like to try and get to one day. Okay, well, look, let's get into the podcast proper. So before we get to the AI side of things, it sounds like you do some very cool and interesting things around books and helping entrepreneurs. Can you briefly tell us about your core work, its benefits? For instance, I was reading how entrepreneurs can increase their income by writing a book.
Well, just by becoming an author, entrepreneurs have an advantage because they are more likely to get speaking gigs and get paid for them. They are more likely to get on podcasts like this one. They are more likely to get on in any kind of media, and they're more likely to get better and higher paying clients simply by having author by their name. Now, it helps if the book's actually a good book. And that's what I focus on, is helping them write a good book, because there's plenty of gurus out there who are selling you the quick and fast, big business card, and then you read them and you're like, I don't want to hire this person. So that's what my goal is, to help you write a good book that really gets your ideal client saying, hey, this person really knows their stuff. I want to check them out and maybe even hire them to help me do whatever it is the book told them how to do.
And just very briefly, because we do want to focus on the AI side of things, but what would you say has been your biggest success in that area?
I think it's just getting people to understand that writing a book isn't all that hard. It can be time consuming, or it doesn't have to be. And all you really need to do is get the right help, and you can do it.
Understood. Okay. So let's talk about AI. When did you first realize that AI could help you?
The funny thing is that I had been using AI for years and just didn't know it. And it was like, how many months ago when all of a sudden ChatGPT, everyone was talking about ChatGPT. I had been using Jasper for a while, but not very much. And so I started checking out ChatGPT, and it was like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, it can totally do all these things. And so I started just throwing random prompts at it. I'm like, could it do this? And it could. And sometimes it did it well, and sometimes it hallucinated, and sometimes it didn't do it so well. But AI has really helped me reclaim some of my time, because things that would take me days are now taking me hours. And it's helped me come up with new ideas and new perspectives on ideas that I may not have thought about on my own, and certainly not thought of on my own as quickly.
Can you give us an example of that last one? Because, to come up with new ideas and new perspectives, a lot of people are kind of worried that AI would take away their jobs, and, and there is potential for that, certainly. But I think there's a lot more positives, a lot more benefits to AI than negatives. So tell us about, new ideas and, new perspectives.
Well, for one, as an experiment, I went to use it as my research assistant on my new book. And I asked it, okay, for example, is there any research on connecting environment to writer's block? And it said, sure. It gave me these great, and I'm like, I hadn't even thought of that particular angle. Now, a lot of that information it gave me were hallucinations. They weren't actual journal articles that actually existed. But in the long run, it didn't matter, because it got me going to the library and looking down research avenues I may not have thought of. So really, it's all good.
So that there is a touch of caveat emptor, buyer beware there, because I'm sure that so many people are diving into ChatGPT. It's the big name, it's the one that most people know about.
Yes.
But as you say, it hallucinates. I mean,
I looked that up.
What was one of the craziest hallucinations, for want of a better description, that you came across?
Well, it basically gave me, it said, oh, this article in this journal written by this author, and then gave me a summary of it. And when I went to go look for that journal article by that author, sometimes the journal didn't exist. Sometimes the article didn't exist. And I'm like,
wow.
That's because that looked really good. I wanted it, but I wanted to look at the original stuff because I'm not going to just trust chat. So
sorry, go ahead.
That was really annoying.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good warning for anybody listening to the podcast or anybody looking to use ChatGPT. Don't trust everything that it says. I mean, even when you're looking at, the service itself, it says to you, this has information that is only from a certain date, and some of it may not be completely accurate. So it's more the style of writing. So there's still that requirement to check, so it can help you spark ideas. It won't necessarily do your job for you.
Right. I was reading up on this whole hallucination thing, and there was a lawyer who used chat to come up with citations to prove his cause, and the judge almost fined him because the citations didn't exist.
That's a real world consequence. That could be really bad.
That could be really bad. And then also is reading up on it, and it turns out that AI doesn't matter if what it tells you is true, as long as it's plausible.
Wow.
So that's why it's a good way to get you thinking in new plausible directions, but don't trust everything it says.
So there's still that need. And another question I've got, obviously you've got writing skills without a shadow of a doubt, based on what you do for a living.
Right.
Did you find that those writing skills helped, proper grammar, punctuation, etc., helped when it came to creating the prompts?
To some degree, but I think prompt engineering, as the term is more of an understanding what it is you're trying to get at and giving enough detail. And even then, sometimes chat doesn't listen to you. I've named my chat Ava, and she sometimes is just snarky and she doesn't do what I tell her to do. So
you've actually cracked this, and AI is a room full of cats in reality.
Yes, it is. It's a very intelligent, relatively well-herded room of cats, but it's still a room of cats.
That's good to know. Okay, so let's go into the topic for today then. Making AI your virtual assistant. What do you do? How do you use it?
I use it to help me. Primarily, the one thing I use it the most for is social media. And that's what I was referring to earlier. It used to take me 3-4 days to write out all my social media. I now can do it in 3 or 4 hours because I know what I want to say. I say, chat, I want something that says this. And it spits something out, and then I edit it. And sometimes it spits out something that's so good, I'm like, I'm just going to insert my geek factor there, and then it's perfect.
So how do you tune it, though, to make sure it's in your voice? Because one of the challenges that I've seen and other guests on the podcast have commented on is making sure that what comes out of ChatGPT or any other AI system needs to feel authentic. How do you maintain that authenticity so it feels like it's coming from you?
I edit it. That's the main thing. But I've also noticed that the more I use it and then show it how I edited the content it spitted out, the closer it's still not getting to me. Like, for example, it likes to say, hey, entrepreneurs, I've got this. I hate saying that. I would never say, hey, entrepreneur. I just don't do that. So I just have to edit it out.
So when you say that you show it how you've edited what it sent you, what do you do there? What's your process?
For example, I might say, please write a post promoting my appearance on the AI Advantage show. And I'll give it maybe a little transcript or something, and it'll go, bleh. It'll give me that. And then I'll put it into a software and I'll edit it. And then I'll say, here's how I edited what you just gave me. Can you write a Twitter version? And 75 to 50% of the time, it will do something that is using what I just gave it. And then sometimes it just goes back to what it wrote because it likes Ava likes her own stuff better.
So this has the option then of, or the way it sounds like you use it, you're doing an iterative process, and it's like you're working with, a smart kind of intern almost in some ways, who will go out, find the information for you, but you've still got to give it that level of guidance.
Absolutely. It's AI has become sort of like my brainstorming buddy. I'll throw ideas, it throws ideas, and we go back and forth. It's definitely, I rarely use the first thing it spits out.
Interesting. But you think it is slowly getting better, yeah?
To some degree. I mean, it still likes to go after, like I said, Ava likes her own stuff. So she throws in lots and lots of those little emojis, way more than I would use. And again, she really likes the phrase, "Hey, audience." I would never do that, really. But
and how do you think you can tune this further? I mean, what ideas have you got to maybe make future tweaks? I mean, are you looking at just literally saying, don't put in as many as emojis?
I have done that. I've also done where you iterate it further. So you might say a larger thing, it spits out content, and then you go, okay, refine it in this way. And then it spits out more, then refine it more in this way. That's one way I've done it. And sometimes I'll write like a prompt that's like longer than my screen that details, I want this, I want to say this, I want you to pretend you're David Ogilvy, I want, all these things. And then sometimes I still have to iterate. And sometimes I just throw in the towel and edit it myself. Because
you just do it yourself, yeah.
I just do it myself.
Okay. And you've mentioned something interesting there as well about the size of the prompts. I've seen a lot of people when they're using ChatGPT, they think, oh, it's a single sentence, or maybe it's a couple of sentences at most. But you're actually giving it quite extended descriptions on what it needs to do with lots of detail.
Sometimes, yes. If I really want better content to come out, especially if I'm using it to help me write a sales page, I need to tell it who the audience is, what their pain points are, what their pleasure points are, what I'm selling, and all these. And then I'll also ask it to come out with different versions from different copywriters. I found my personal preference tends to be for the style of David Ogilvy.
Okay. So again, this is a theme that I'm seeing coming out from a lot of people who are using these tools. This is not some magic, one that just can do everything for you. You still have to do preparation work. It does some work in the middle for you, but you still have to do that refinement. You can't just put content out there and hope for the best.
Absolutely. In fact, I did a podcast episode of my own where I talked about how to use AI ethically. And that's one of the things. AI can give you really good first drafts, because I have several AI tools that I use, and they come out with really good first drafts. So if the first draft is where you get stuck, AI is great. But then you have to layer in you, because it can't even pretend to be human. It can't, and it certainly can't layer in your geek factor, your you-ness. You have to do that. That's taking a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And but you mentioned you use multiple tools. What tools are you using?
I use Chat. I was using Jasper, but I decided I was using Chat so often I didn't need to use that. I have Quick Write. And there's a new software out there called Magic Bookifier. I ended up talking to the person who created it, and he got me into it. It's still in its early stages, but you just upload an audio and it spits out a book.
Nice.
First draft. It really needs editing, but it's getting better. And then I, like I said earlier, AI is kind of like in stuff you didn't even think about. So the editing function on Word, when you do the editor where it tells you what you spelled wrong, that's AI. Grammarly is AI. So, and I also have Cast Magic, which helps you chop up a podcast.
And you're clearly right. You're clearly right. We have all been using AI without even realizing it. It's just that now it's the zeitgeist. Now it's it's in the front of mind public consciousness, which is a great thing, because we can now start to share and look at cool new things, and people are saying, "Hey, try this tool, try that tool," and some of it's great, some of it maybe not so great.
Yeah. And when chat was really hot and heavy and everyone was talking about it, a lot of people were like freaking out thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my job. And my husband was terrified because he's a writer too. And after I used it a little bit, I'm like, this will never, it will replace hacks.
Yes.
But that's it. That's it.
That is really interesting. So if you have the skills, if you are somebody who has talent and belief in yourself, and put bluntly, you have what I would refer to as old school skills.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the topics I like to cover when I'm talking to people like yourself is, in some ways, this is a great equalizer. It's a democratization of technology and ability, because typically speaking, in the past, new technologies have come along and younger demographics have grabbed it. Older demographics have gone, oh no, that's a bit scary. But in this case, the more traditional skills are far more important. In fact, it's making them more important than they have been in a long time. This option of creating short text messages and, your bad punctuation, bad grammar, that is now a problem again. And, AI is actually pointing that out.
Absolutely. Now, there may be potential people who would have hired you before who will now just use chat.
Yes.
But they probably weren't your ideal clients anyway.
No. So what pitfalls have you seen? I mean, have you had anything where you've gone, oh, I wish I hadn't done that?
You mean like making the mistake?
Yeah.
Well, thinking of that chat could give me really good journal research. Gosh, I was like, oh. I'm always kind of cautious, so I haven't really done much. Now, I did use Jasper to write a lot of blog posts, and then the whole thing came out that Google was going to be penalizing you for that. But now I've heard they've decided they're not going to because they can't really tell. And I'm glad because QuickWrite has an AI detector and will clean out AI from your content if you want. And I put in my own content just as a test, and it cleaned me out. I'm like, I am not AI.
No.
Or maybe I am. I don't know.
Your head in a jar.
That's it.
If there's a magic formula of tools that you would recommend to the listeners today for that virtual assistant, I'd say that super smart intern that's going to do specific jobs for you, what is that magic mix that you would recommend right now?
Well, some of them are automatic. Like if you have Word, you automatically have the spell check and all that. I layer Grammarly on top of that because Grammarly catches things that the editor doesn't and vice versa. So as a writer, I think Grammarly is and even the free version, because that's what I use. It's a free version and it's excellent. Don't lean on it 100% because it sometimes tries to correct you in ways that aren't English. Don't know why. Maybe it's hallucinating. And I like chat because it's just easy to use. And as long as you've learned how to prompt it and know how to iterate, it can give you really good stuff, which is why I stopped using Jasper. Although Jasper is great, I don't need that many tools. And I like QuickWrite too because it's created specifically for writers, and it has the added benefit that it doesn't keep any of your stuff, whereas chat does. So other people could be using your content, whereas QuickWrite won't do that to you. So you don't want to put any of your proprietary stuff in chat.
So let me understand that correctly. If you were to put in something that you've written, say, hey, here's the first paragraph of a story or an article I'm going to write, I want you to expand on this. That first paragraph is now sat in chat, and it could pop up in somebody else's prompt response.
It maybe not verbatim, but the concept, the idea, a version of it, absolutely.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Because it's learning, it's using it to learn.
Well, and it's constantly, it's being bombarded at the moment. It's just a tsunami of content coming in and a tsunami of content coming out. It's absolutely astonishing what's going on. Yeah. So how do you see AI changing society, though? Because, as you say, your husband, he had a little bit of a freak out, and then, I'm sure there are lots of people that can relate to that. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to make a lot of things more efficient. I just saw an article on LinkedIn today that there's a new AI tool that is in like a tractor. And what it does is it lasers all the weeds in the crop. And it's like 98% accurate, which means you get better crops.
Yeah.
So AI can be used to make things we already have a little more efficient.
Gotcha.
We want to be careful of that because my husband read me this article about drones, and they were trying to train attack drones. And the drones decided, well, I get more points if I destroy this thing. And so it was disobeying the people, and then it was trying to kill the people, and then it was trying to kill the
take out the communication towers, and I mean, that was a great thought experiment. And it's there were so many options out there, but again, it sounds like very much using this in a smart way to do good. It's not all negative. This is not the Matrix. This is not Terminator.
Right.
This is.
Don't show them the Terminator.
No, that would be a bad idea. I got to say, they might get a little bit carried away with that sort of thing.
Yes.
So that's how AI could be changing things for the better. I've got to ask though. It sounds like some of the advice that we've got today is practice. Okay, so certainly when it comes to using something like ChatGPT, don't just go with that first version. Don't just rock up one day and go, hey, I'm just going to type something in and away we go. Okay? Practice. Do some stuff in your own time. Understand how these things work and what the limitations are, as you discovered yourself when it started to hallucinate. But the question I've got to ask you is, if there was one piece of advice that you'd had prior to starting all of this that you wish you'd had, what would it be?
Start sooner. I wish I'd started playing with this stuff sooner, because I might be a little bit farther along than I am now in my understanding and knowing how to work with it better.
So it does sound like you've totally embraced it. You're getting on with it, and now it's become a part of what you do. And it's just another tool. It's not a scary technology. It is a set of tools that can make your life and your work better.
Absolutely. And it gave me back some of my time, which is so precious.
So with that time, are you doing more work or are you having more you time?
A little of both.
That's good. So Carma, where can people find you, and what's the next big project that they all need to know about?
The best place to go is authorswitch.com, because right there on the homepage is links to all my other websites. And the project I'm really excited about, I've actually alluded to, and that's my next book, The Author Switch. And I'm diving into the neuroscience of writer's block, which I call a glitch in your author switch. And the research out there's a lot of stuff that supports my personal ideas. And I'm really excited to dive into it and help people turn on that author switch and keep it on.
So very, very interesting. I look forward to seeing that myself. Carma, thank you for a really interesting conversation today. I wish you the best of luck in everything that you're doing, and I think everybody should take a good look at what you're doing too.
Wonderful. Thank you. I loved being here.
Well, that's a wrap on another awesome guest episode for the Evolve AI Advantage Show. Just before you go, if you like this episode, we would be very grateful for a 5-star review. Please also consider recommending the show to a friend or two. Make sure you subscribe for future episodes at aiadvantage.show right now. Until next time, I'm Richard Wray, and if you're an entrepreneur, get the AI advantage today.